Hey guys, Miss Sandlin here again. I just wanted to pop back in here to read some more of Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse. We were at a pretty exciting part last time. Excuse me, rearranging. I'm trying to get comfortable. Let me sit crisscross applesauce. There we go. If you hear some ruckus coming from downstairs, my husband's home and he's playing NCAA football, something or another. So if you hear hooping and hollering, that's what that is. What else? That's about it, I guess. You've probably heard by now that we're going to be doing this virtual online thing till at least April 20th. So I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy and you're able to get outside. Today is a pretty sunny day, so I hope you've been able to at least soak up some vitamin D and get out of the house a little bit. Let's see, where were we? We are in chapter 7. We just started chapter 7. It's called Everybody Hates Me But the Horse, which sounds like a very Percy thing to happen to him. Oh, and we got that big prophecy. The oracle walked her mummified behind all the way out of the attic downstairs to the middle of their capture of the flag game to give Zoe, one of the hunters, prophecy. So it's a big deal going on. And Talia is real mad at Percy right now because they were fighting during the capture the flag session. So let's see if they can make up and see if they can make heads or tails of this crazy prophecy. Okay. The council was held around a ping pong table in the rec room. Dionysus waved his hand and supplied snacks. Cheese whiz, crackers, and several bottles of red wine. Then, Chiron reminded him that wine was against his restrictions, and most of us were underage anyway. And Mr. D sighed. With the snap of his fingers, his wine turned back to Diet Coke. Nobody drank that either. Mr. D and Chiron, in wheelchair form, sat at one end of the table. Zoe and Bianca D'Angelo, who had kind of become Zoe's personal assistant, took the other end. Talia and Grover and I sat along the right, and the other head counselors, Beckendorf, Selena Beauregard, and the Stoll brothers, sat on the left. The Ares kids were supposed to send a representative too, but all of them have gotten broken limbs, accidentally, during capture the flag, courtesy of the hunters. They were resting up in the infirmary. Zoe started the meeting off on a positive note. This is pointless. Cheese whiz! Grover gasped. He began scooping up crackers and ping pong balls and spraying them with topping. There is no time for talk, Zoe continued. Our goddess needs us. The hunters must leave immediately. And go where? Chiron asked. West, Bianca said. I was amazed at how different she looked after just a few days with the hunters. Her dark hair was braided like Zoe's now, so you could actually see her face. She had a splash of freckles across her nose, and her dark eyes vaguely reminded me of someone famous, but I couldn't think who. She looked like she'd been working out, and her skin glowed faintly, like the other hunters, as if she'd been taking showers in liquid moonlight. You heard the prophecy. 5 shall go west to the goddess in chains. We can get 5 hunters and go. Yes, Zoe agreed. Artemis is being held hostage. We must find her and free her. You're missing something as usual, Talia said. Campers and hunters combined prevail. We're supposed to do this together. No, Zoe said. The hunters do not need thy help. Your, Talia grumbled. Nobody has said thy in like 300 years. Zoe, get with the times. Zoe hesitated, like she was trying to form the word correctly. We do not need your help. Talia rolled her eyes. Forget it. I fear the prophecy says you do need our help, Chiron said. Campers and hunters must cooperate together. Or do they? Mr. D mused, swirling his Diet Coke under his nose like it had a fine bouquet. One shall be lost, one shall perish. That sounds rather nasty, doesn't it? What if you fail because you try to cooperate? Mr. D, Chiron asked, with all due respect, whose side are you on? Dionysus raised his eyebrows. Sorry, my dear centaur, just trying to be helpful. We're supposed to work together, Talia said stubbornly. I don't like it either, Zoe, but you know prophecies. You want to fight against one? Zoe grimaced, but I could tell Talia had scored a point. We must not delay, Chiron warned. Today is Sunday. This very Friday, December 21st, is the winter solstice. Oh joy, Dionysus muttered. Another dull annual meeting. Artemis must be present at the solstice, Zoe said. She has been one of the most vocal on the council arguing for action against Kronos' minions. If she is absent, the gods will decide nothing. We will lose another year of war preparations. Are you suggesting that the gods have trouble acting together, young lady? Yes, Lord Dionysus. Mr. D nodded. Just checking. You're right, of course. Carry on. I must agree with Zoe, said Chiron. Artemis's presence at the Winter Council is critical. We have only a week to find her, and possibly even more important, to locate the monster she was hunting. Now we must decide who goes on this quest. 3 and 2, I said. Everybody looked at me. Talia even forgot to ignore me. We're supposed to have 5, I said, feeling self-conscious. 3 hunters, and 2 from Camp Half-Blood. That's more than fair. Talia and Zoe exchanged looks. Well, Talia said, it does make sense. Zoe grunted. I would prefer to take all hunters. We will need strength of numbers. You'll be retracing the goddess's path, Chiron reminded her, moving quickly. No doubt Artemis tracked the scent of this rare monster, whatever it is, as she moved west. You will have to do the same. The prophecy was clear. The bane of Olympus shows the trail. What would your mistress say? Too many hunters spoiled the scent? A small group is best. Zoe picked up a ping-pong paddle and studied it like she was deciding who she wanted to whack with it first. This monster, the bane of Olympus. I have hunted at Lady Artemis' side for many years, yet I have no idea what this beast might be. Everybody looked at Dionysus, I guess because he was the only god present, and gods are supposed to know things. He was flipping through a wine magazine. When everyone got silent, he glanced up. Well, don't look at me. I'm a young god, remember? I don't keep track of all those ancient monsters and dusty titans. They make for terrible party conversation. Chiron, I said, you don't have any ideas about the monster? Chiron pursed his lips. I have several ideas, and none of them good, and none of them quite easily make sense. Typhon, for instance, could fit this description. He was truly a bane of Olympus, or the sea monster Cato. But if either of these were stirring, we would know it. They are ocean monsters the size of skyscrapers. Your father Poseidon would already have sounded the alarm. I fear this monster may be more elusive, perhaps even more powerful. That's some serious danger you're facing, Connor Stoll said. I liked how he said you and not we. It sounds like at least 2 of the 5 are going to die. One shall be lost in the land without rain, Beckendorf said. If I were you, I'd stay out of the desert. There was a muttering of agreement. And the Titan's curse must one withstand, Selena said. What could that mean? I saw Chiron and Zoe exchange a nervous look, but whatever they were thinking, they didn't share it. One shall perish by a parent's hand, Grover said in between bites of cheese whiz and ping-pong balls. How is that possible? Whose parents would kill them? There was a heavy silence around the table. I glanced at Talia and wondered if she was thinking the same thing. Years ago, Chiron had had a prophecy about the next child of the Big 3, Zeus, Poseidon, or Hades, who turned 16. Supposedly, that kid would make a decision that would save or destroy the gods forever. Because of that, the Big 3 had taken an oath after World War II to not have any more kids. But Talia and I had been born anyway, and now we were both getting close to 16. I remembered a conversation I'd had last year with Annabeth. I'd asked her, if I was so potentially dangerous, why the gods didn't just kill me to begin with. Some of the gods would like to kill you, she said, but they're afraid of offending Poseidon. Could an Olympian parent turn against his half-blood child? Would it sometimes be easier to just let them die? If there were any other half-bloods who needed to worry about that, it was Talia and me. I wondered if maybe I should have sent Poseidon that seashell pattern tie for Father's Day after all. There will be deaths, Chiron decided. That much we know for sure. Oh, goody, Dionysus said. Everyone looked at him. He glanced up innocently from the pages of Wine Connoisseur magazine. Ah, Pinot Noir is making a comeback. Don't mind me. Percy is right, Selena Beauregard said. 2 campers should go. Oh, I see, Zoe said sarcastically. And I suppose you wish to volunteer. Selena blushed. I'm not going anywhere with the hunters. Don't look at me. A daughter of Aphrodite does not wish to be looked at, Zoe scoffed. What would thy mother say? Selena started to get out of her chair, but the Stoll brothers pulled her back. Stop it, Beckendorf said. He was a big guy with a bigger voice. He didn't talk much, but when he did, people tended to listen. Let's start with the hunters. Which three of you will go? Zoe stood. I shall go, of course, and I will take Phoebe. She is our best tracker. The big girl who likes to hit people on the head? Travis Stoll asked cautiously, and Zoe nodded. The one who put arrows in my helmet, Connor added. Yes, Zoe snapped. Why? Oh, nothing, Travis said. Just that we have a t-shirt for her from the camp store. He held up a big silver t-shirt that said, Artemis the Moon Goddess, Fall Hunting Tour 2002, with a huge list of national parks and stuff underneath. It's a collector's item. She was admiring it. You want to give it to her? I knew the Stoll brothers were up to something. They always were. But I guess Zoe didn't know them as well as I did. She just sighed and took the t-shirt. As I was saying, I will take Phoebe, and I wish Bianca to go. Bianca looked stunned. Me? But I'm so new. I wouldn't be any good. You'll do fine, Zoe insisted. There's no better way to prove thyself. Bianca closed her mouth. I felt kind of sorry for her. I remembered my first quest when I was 12. I had felt totally unprepared. A little honored, maybe, but a lot resentful and plenty scared. I figured the same things were running around in Bianca's head right now. And for the campers, Chiron asked. His eyes met mine, but I couldn't tell what he was thinking. Me! Grover stood up so fast, he bumped the ping-pong table. He brushed cracker crumbs and ping-pong ball scraps off his lap. Anything to help Artemis. Zoe wrinkled her nose. I think not, Satyr. You are not even a half-blood. But he is a camper, Talia said, and he's got a satyr's senses and woodland magic. Can he play a tracker song yet, Grover? Absolutely! Zoe wavered. I didn't know what a tracker song was, but apparently Zoe thought it was a good thing. Very well, Zoe said. And the second camper? I'll go. Talia stood and looked around, daring anyone to question her. Now, okay, maybe my math skills weren't the best, but it suddenly occurred to me that we'd reached the number 5, and I wasn't in this group. Whoa, wait a sec, I said. I want to go too. Talia said nothing. Chiron was studying me, his eyes sad. Oh, Grover said, suddenly aware of the problem. Whoa, yeah, I forgot. Percy has to go. I didn't mean... I'll stay. Percy should go in my place. He cannot, Zoe said. He is a boy. I won't have hunters traveling with a boy. You traveled here with me, I reminded her. That was a short-term emergency, and it was ordered by the goddess. I will not go across country and fight many dangers in the company of a boy. Well, what about Grover? I demanded. Zoe shook her head. He does not count. He's a satyr. He's technically not a boy. Hey! I have to go, I said. I need to be on this quest. Why? Zoe asked. Because of thy friend Annabeth. I felt myself blushing. I hated that everyone was looking at me. No! I mean, partly. I just feel like I'm supposed to go. Nobody rose to my defense. Mr. D looked bored, still reading his magazine. Selena, the Stoll brothers, and Beckendorf were staring at the table. Bianca gave me a look of pity. No, Zoe said flatly. I insist upon this. I will take a satyr if I must, but not a male hero. Chiron sighed. The quest is for Artemis. The hunters should be allowed to approve their companions. My ears were ringing as I sat down. I knew Grover and some of the others were looking at me sympathetically, but I couldn't meet their eyes. I just sat there as Chiron concluded the council. So be it, he said. Talia and Grover will accompany Zoe, Bianca, and Phoebe. Ye shall leave at first light, and may the gods, he glanced at Dionysus, present company included, we hope, be with you. I didn't show up for dinner that night, which was a mistake, because Chiron and Grover came looking for me. Percy, I'm so sorry, Grover said, sitting next to me on the bunk. I didn't know that you'd... Honest? He started to sniffle, and I figured if I didn't cheer him up, he'd either start bawling or chewing up my mattress. He tends to eat household objects whenever he gets upset. It's okay, I lied. Really, it's fine. Grover's lower lip trembled. I wasn't even thinking. I was so focused on helping Artemis, but I promise, I'll look everywhere for Annabeth. If I can find her, I will. I nodded and tried to ignore the big crater that was opening in my chest. Grover, Chiron said, perhaps you'd let me have a word with Percy? Sure, he sniffled, and Chiron waited. Oh, Grover said, you mean alone? Sure, Chiron. He looked at me miserable. See, nobody needs a goat. He trotted out the door, blowing his nose on his sleeve. Chiron sighed and knelt on his horse legs. Percy, I don't pretend to understand prophecies. Yeah, I said. Well, maybe that's because they don't make any sense. Chiron gazed at the saltwater spring gurgling in the corner of the room. Talia would not have been my first choice to go on this quest. She's too impetuous. She acts without thinking. She is too sure of herself. Would you have chosen me? Frankly, no, he said. You and Talia are too much alike. Thanks a lot. He smiled. The difference is that you are less sure of yourself than Talia. That could be good or bad, but one thing I can say, both of you together would be a dangerous thing. We can handle it. The way you handled it at the creek tonight. I didn't answer. He had nailed me. Perhaps it's for the best, Chiron said. You can go home to your mother for the holidays. If we need you, we can call. Yeah, I said, maybe. I pulled Riptide out of my pocket and set it on my nightstand. It didn't seem that I'd be using it for anything but writing Christmas cards. When he saw the pen, Chiron grimaced. It's no wonder Zoe doesn't want you along, I suppose. Not while you're carrying that particular weapon. I didn't understand what he meant. Then I remembered something he'd told me a long time ago, when he first gave me the magic sword. It has a long and tragic history, which we need not go into. I wanted to ask him about that, but then he pulled a golden drachma from his saddlebag and tossed it to me. Call your mother, Percy. Let her know you're coming home in the morning. And, for what it's worth, I almost volunteered for this quest myself. I would have gone if not for the last line. One shall perish by a parent's hand. Yeah. I didn't need to ask. I knew Chiron's dad was Kronos, the evil Titan Lord himself. The line would make perfect sense if Chiron went on the quest. Kronos didn't care for anyone, including his own children. Chiron, I said, you know what this Titan's curse is, don't you? His face darkened. He made a claw over his heart and pushed outward, an ancient gesture for warding off evil. Let us hope the prophecy does not mean what I think. Now, good night, Percy, and your time will come. I'm convinced of that. There's no need to rush it. He said your time, the way people did when they meant your death. I didn't know if Chiron meant it that way, but the look in his eyes made me scared to ask. I stood at the saltwater spring, rubbing Chiron's coin in my hand, trying to figure out what to say to my mom. I really wasn't in the mood to have one more adult tell me that doing nothing was the greatest thing I could do, but I figured my mom deserved an update. Finally, I took a deep breath and threw in the coin. Oh, goddess, accept my offering. The mist shimmered. The light from the bathroom was just enough to make a faint rainbow. Show me Sally Jackson, I said. Upper East Side, Manhattan. And there in the mist was a scene I did not expect. My mom was sitting at our kitchen table with some guy. They were laughing hysterically. There was a big stack of textbooks between them. The man was, I don't know, 30-something, with longish salt and pepper hair, and a brown jacket over a black t-shirt. He looked like an actor, like a guy who might play an undercover cop on TV. I was too stunned to say anything, and fortunately, my mom and the guy were too busy laughing to notice my Irish message. The guy said, Sally, you're a riot. You want some more wine? I shouldn't. You go ahead if you want. Actually, I'd better use your bathroom. May I? Down the hall, she said, trying not to laugh. The actor dude smiled and got up and left. Mom, I said. She jumped so hard she almost knocked her textbooks off the table. Finally, she focused on me. Percy, oh honey, is everything okay? What are you doing? I demanded. She blinked. Homework? Then she seemed to understand the look on my face. Oh, honey, that's just Paul, Blofus. He's in my writing seminar. Mr. Blowfish? Blofus. He'll be back in a minute, Percy. Tell me what's wrong. She always knew when something was wrong. I told her about Annabeth, the other stuff too, but mostly it boiled down to Annabeth. My mother's eyes teared up. I could tell she was trying hard to keep it together for my sake. Oh, Percy. Yeah, so they tell me there's nothing I can do. I guess I'll be coming home. She turned her pencil around in her fingers. Percy, as much as I want you to come home, she sighed like she was mad at herself. As much as I want you to be safe, I want you to understand something. You need to do whatever you think you have to. I stared at her. What do you mean, Mom? I mean, do you really, deep down, believe that you have to help save her? Do you think it's the right thing to do? Because I know one thing about you, Percy. Your heart is always in the right place. So listen to it. You're telling me to go? My mother pursed her lips. I'm telling you that you're getting too old for me to tell you what to do anyway. I'm telling you that I'll support you even if what you decide to do is dangerous. I can't believe I'm saying this. Mom! The toilet flushed down the hall in our apartment. I don't have much time, my mom said. Percy, whatever you decide, I love you. And I know you'll do what's best for Annabeth. How can you be sure? Because she'd do the same for you. And with that, my mother waved her hand over the mist and the connection dissolved, leaving me with one final image of her new friend, Mr. Blowfish, smiling down at her. Okay, that's about midway through chapter 7. I think we'll stop there. So Percy's not going on this quest, even though it definitely seems like a Percy kind of quest. Especially with the Zoe and him, like, nightmares on the same night kind of thing. It's Talia, Grover, Zoe, Bianca, and some other hunter named Sophia, I think. Something like that. And Percy's mom, of all people, is telling him to break the rules. But she trusts Percy and she wants Annabeth to be okay. So I can kind of see that. Alright, I'll leave this here. I want you guys to share this with your friends if you're watching it. Don't just watch it and keep it to yourself. The more people see this, the more fun things we'll actually be able to do on here. Like this video, comment on it, subscribe, do all those things. And you guys stay safe, stay healthy. Go outside, do something fun. Don't just make this the most boring time in the world. Alright, see you guys tomorrow.